Hey there. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Jill Morris Smith, also known as the Savvy Servant, also known as a nonprofit expert. So if you're trying to start a nonprofit or grow your existing nonprofit, this is definitely the channel you want to hang out on. I primarily serve those who are new in nonprofits, nonprofit founders, 5 years or less. If you cannot get grant funding, this is definitely where you want to hang out so that can help you get right. All right. Before I forget, there were several things I wanted to mention to you. One thing is that I just started a brand new Facebook group. It's a public group. It's called Founders of Nonprofits. So please go and join that group. It's absolutely free. I'll put the link at the bottom because I'm dropping all kind of tools, suggested tools there, grant announcements, technical assistance, all that great stuff. Please introduce your nonprofit or your mission, your idea, whatever. Yes, that's a place you want to hang out as well as on this channel. Also, if you need some one-on-one help, if you need some one-on-one help, I am now offering a 1 hour strategic session, very affordable. I'll put the link at the bottom. So if you are at a stall or stump, or if just something is off with your nonprofit and you don't know, it's probably mainly have to do with not being able to get the right funding, or if something is off, we definitely need to strategize. I can strategize with you, give you some ideas. I can also do an assessment to see where the issue lies, and yeah, I can help you move your nonprofit along. All right. Yeah, I think that's it for the moment. All right, so I wasn't going to do a video, but I said let me jump on, let me talk about this because I was just on at noon with a client and an issue came up. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up this issue here is because I heard it before. I heard it last week. Someone mentioned this last week, and so I said, okay, this is must be a issue that is lurking, that needs some attention. So the issue is your nonprofit's mission needed? The mission in your nonprofit is needed. So let me tell you how this looks, because this is something that happened with a client years ago, and we had to go in and do some fixing. So one of my clients, who is a very lucrative client today, but a couple of years ago, actually it's been about 10 years, they started off totally new in this nonprofit arena, didn't know too much about anything about the nonprofit world. They were referred to me, and they really wanted to help pregnant teens. They were once pregnant teen moms, single moms, and so now that they had become professionals in other careers and all that great stuff, they wanted to give back to their community. So they came to me, and so we, help they had that vision to help pregnant teens and all that great stuff, and so we were help them with the business plan and all that great stuff. And so as they were building, it took about 6 months. Within that first year they did get their 501c3 tax exempt status, but as they were building, what we noticed was that the pregnant teen rate in the District of Columbia was declining significantly. And so how we knew is because when we went to um, when they went to enroll, when they were doing the pilot of their program, they went to enroll some pregnant teens into their program. There weren't that many in there weren't that many in that location. So um, we ended up doing a huge research project, and we researched DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And we come to find out that it was more pregnant teens in the North Virginia area than in DC and Maryland, and mostly because there was a rise in the alternative lifestyle. So we did this whole big campaign about the teen pregnancy rate declining, but that the um, alternative lifestyle rate was increasing. So we had to, even though we end up getting a contract, well, they end up getting a contract with Northern Virginia, with Fairfax County Public School System, to provide their services to their alternative high school. Now, their alternative high school was there was a big population for teen pregnancy, and so and these were for students who had challenges. They weren't advancing, an alternative high school. So they did provide services there, but they really had their hearts set on DC and Maryland. And so while they were servicing Maryland, I'm sorry, Virginia, we had to come up with, other services that we can provide. And so we had to end up serving more of low income single moms than pregnant teens. So that's been quite successful. Which I said, they are a very lucrative nonprofit today, because it's been well over 10 years. They started working with me in 2012, so that's been very successful. But I say all of this to say that this is a recurring issue. That sometimes you can have these very big visions and you can have everything on paper as far as the mission of your nonprofit, or the mission that you want of your nonprofit. And one of the worst things that can happen is that you don't have the clients, to participate in these programs. And so if you don't have the clients, you're definitely not going to get the financial and the funding support. And so I want to just lay out 3 things that you need to do as soon as possible, because you don't want to spin your wheels. You don't want to duplicate services. You don't want to, put all this stuff in writing and make all these plans, and your mission ain't needed. So this is what I strongly, strongly suggest that you do ASAP. 1, do your research. Do your research in the 20-mile radius where your nonprofit's address is registered. All right. So whatever that registered address is, do a 20-mile research, a 20-mile radius research of the services that you want to offer. Say if it's domestic violence, you need to do your research. You need to figure out, first of all, you need to go to the do that. You can go to social services to see, you can go to the police department to see what the domestic violence inquiries are, the treatment for domestic violent individuals. You want to do all your research in your 20-mile radius to see if there are indeed potential clients that are dealing with domestic violence. And if there are not, then wait till I get to number 3. But you want to do all your research in addition to finding out like all of the data on, what's going on in that 20-mile radius. You want to also see if there are other organizations that are also providing services similar to the ones that you want to, because you don't want to duplicate services either. So usually, how we usually in this field, this is what we do. If there is another organization that's providing the same services within a 5-mile radius, you may just want to go ahead and go see if you can establish a partnership with that nonprofit. But if it's not within a 5-mile radius, by all means set up shop. By all means, and especially if you have the data and the potential client base to support it. All right. So you want to make sure that there's a need for in the area as far as potential clients. You want to also see what other organizations are servicing that. So you want to do extensive research on the services and the mission of that you're trying to serve in that area. The second thing you want to do is you want to find out if there is any grant funding out there that's going to support this mission, because you need to know that, of course, that you can fund this, but you got to know if it's if it's something that is on the radar, if it's something that's interesting enough that you can get some financial backing, because that will also determine if there is a need for it. If there are, if you can't get any financial backing, that's foundation grants, government grants, even local donor support. If it's not something that's on the rise, or like if it's not a topic that's like a hot topic, then you might also find yourself, backed up in the corner, or out there trying to wave your flag and nobody is really listening. Um, so you want to see who is providing the funding. I strongly suggest that you go to HHS. HHS is the biggest, the largest federal or government grantor there is. HUD is also a big one. But you want to go to at least HHS if your mission falls under anything with Health and Human Services. You want to go to HHS's website on the federal and the state and local levels to see what grant opportunities are out there. Then that will give you some idea of what's on the radar and what's fundable and what's needed. All right. So yeah, you got to make sure that there is money out there to back this mission that you're trying to push. All right. Now the third thing is that you want to be very, very clear on your mission statement. Very clear on your mission statement. So if you find that one or two that there is not a audience or target audience out there or demographic for the vision and the mission that you have, and number two, if you found out that there's not any funding out there, number three, you're going to need to tweak your mission. You're going to need to tweak your mission, as my clients did. They had to tweak their mission. Now, their vision was still the same. They still wanted to help pregnant teens, but um, what they had to end up doing is helping the pregnant teens at a later time in their life. So even though these young moms could have been pregnant teens at one time, the need now was more that they, after they had the baby, now, they were older, now they needed help with childcare and job readiness, career readiness, and all of that financial, helping with self-sufficiency. So those types of services. So it just means that you should just tweak your mission a little bit. Now, let me tell you something. Every 5 years, you need to revisit your mission statement and tweak it. So for instance, like I remember, and I'm sure you remember this, years ago, there was this thing about STEM, 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 STEM. And I had several clients who I helped develop STEM programs. But then they started to add another level, another letter to it. So it went from STEM to STEAM to STREAM. So it went from science, technology, engineering, and math to science, technology, and engineering. I forgot what the A was in math. And then they added the R. Oh, A was the arts, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And I believe it was arts. And then they added a R. So it was like science, technology. I don't even know what the R was, but it went from STEM to STEAM to STREAM. So they had to, redo their mission statements. And so it's okay. And so but you can't be so, I guess my point is, you can't be so set on an idea that it comes, oh, I got to do this because this is what I went through. So set on one way of doing something that you are no good to serve anybody. And so you got to know that there's a need for what you have before you go out and provide or try to set up services and no one shows up. Because one of the things that a grant proposal is going to look at is that you can get people in your programs without having to pay them, without having to give them gift cards to participate. You got to have a program that is there knocking on your door saying, we need what you have. And so yeah, so for instance, I always use this example. Like, you'll never develop a, you don't, maybe there's, if in the area, like for instance, in this area that I live in this Lake Norman area of North Carolina, there may not be a homelessness issue. There may not be a homelessness issue. So to develop a homeless shelter in this area, although it's a great idea, and although it's within the 20-mile radius or even 5-mile radius of where I live, it's not a need for it. So be very, very, you got to be very strategic, and you got to be flexible in some things. Your vision is always to impact, but sometimes, the vision can be a little outdated. And sometimes it's just the wrong timing. It's just the wrong timing. So I hope this helps. Please drop comments in below. Again, I'll send the link. I'll put the link to the new Facebook group below. And yeah, if there's any more help that I can provide, hit me up. All right. That's it. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you again on the next video. Bye bye.